A junior auditor at a financial firm in Mumbai submits a report that simply says the AI access logs are messy. When the manager reads this, they are frustrated because they have no idea what messy means, how to fix it, or why it matters. This is a classic example of a poorly written audit finding. In the world of ISO 42001, a finding is formally defined as the result of the evaluation of the collected audit evidence against audit criteria. In simple words, a finding is just a factual statement about what you saw compared to what the standard says should be happening. It is the gap between the rulebook and reality. If you don't write it clearly, it is useless. A good finding must have three ingredients: the requirement, the observation, and the evidence. If your finding is vague, you aren't helping the organization. You are just creating more work for everyone. So now that we have mastered the core concept that an audit finding is simply the gap between the standard and the actual performance, you might be wondering how we structure these observations so they don't just sound like complaints. Well, that brings us right to our next step, the golden rule of evidence-based reporting. Picture a construction supervisor in Delhi inspecting a new building. They don't just say the wall is weak. They point to the specific crack in the foundation, show the blueprints that call for reinforced steel, and document the date it was inspected. This is what we call evidence-based reporting. The standard demands that findings be supported by objective evidence, date, records, or direct observations that prove the non-conformity. If you cannot produce the document, the screenshot, or the interview note that proves the error, the finding simply does not exist. You have probably seen this at the office where someone claims the AI team never updates their privacy policy, but they can't show a single timestamp of an outdated document. That's an opinion, not an audit finding. As a lead auditor, your job is to remove the "I think" from your vocabulary and replace it with "I saw." When you have rock solid evidence, the finding becomes indisputable. So now that we've mastered why objective evidence is the backbone of our reports, you might be wondering how we write this down in a way that is professional and actionable. Well, that brings us to our next step, the statement of non-conformity. A software company in Bangalore has an AI model that doesn't track user consent properly. If I write, the team needs to do better with consent, that is a teacher giving a grade, not an auditor writing a finding. A proper statement of non-conformity clearly links the problem to a specific clause of the ISO 42001 standard. You write it like this: the organization failed to comply with clause 8.2 regarding data privacy as evidenced by the lack of consent logs for the period of March to May. It is a neutral, precise statement that anyone can read and understand immediately. It tells the auditee exactly which rule was broken and what the specific failure looked like. Think of it as a medical diagnosis. The doctor doesn't just say you look tired. They say your blood tests indicate an iron deficiency. Precision prevents defensiveness. If you are clear and factual, the organization can focus on the solution instead of arguing with you. So now that we've mastered the art of writing a clear, professional statement of non-conformity, you might be wondering how to ensure the auditee understands the true impact of their failure. Well, that brings us right to our next step, documenting the significance and impact. Imagine a retail giant in Chennai using an AI tool for inventory management. The AI has been hallucinating and ordering thousands of winter jackets for a summer sale. If you just write the AI model is inaccurate, you have missed the point. You need to document the impact. You should write, the AI inaccuracy has led to a 20% loss in storage efficiency and significant financial waste due to overordering. Impact turns a technical glitch into a business problem. When you show the business leaders the financial or operational cost of the gap, they suddenly sit up and take notice. An auditor who can explain the why is far more valuable than an auditor who just lists mistakes. You are showing them the risks they didn't even know they were carrying. It turns your audit from a police inspection into a consultation for improvement. So now that we've mastered how to translate technical gaps into meaningful business impact, you might be wondering how to ensure the findings lead to real, lasting change. Well, that brings us right into our next step, the process of corrective action. A logistics firm in Pune identifies a gap in its AI maintenance logs. They quickly fill in the missing data for the audit report, but they don't fix the underlying software glitch that caused the logs to fail in the first place. This is a common mistake. They treated the symptom, not the disease. ISO 42001 requires a corrective action plan that asks, what is the root cause of this problem? Your findings are the spark that ignites the improvement process. A well-written finding forces the auditee to look at their process, identify why the error happened, and implement a change that prevents it from ever coming back. It's like patching a leak in a boat. You don't just bail out the water, you fix the hole. If your finding is well written, it makes the root cause analysis so obvious that the auditee has no choice but to fix the systemic issue. So now that we've mastered how to guide organizations toward fixing root causes, you might be wondering how to keep your own writing consistent across a long, complex audit. Well, that brings us to our next step, the final review and verification of findings. To wrap everything up, imagine you are closing out an audit for a major tech corporation in Kolkata. You have 5 pages of findings. Before you hand these over, you need to perform a sanity check. Ask yourself, is every finding backed by evidence? Is it objective? Does it cite the right standard? Does it focus on the impact? If you aren't sure, the auditee will spot it and your credibility will drop. The review process is your final safeguard against bias or error. You want your findings to be so polished and professional that even the CEO can read them and say, yes, we need to fix this. Being a lead auditor isn't about finding the most mistakes. It is about writing the most impactful reports. You are the architect of truth for that organization. By mastering the way you write and verify these findings, you are essentially providing a roadmap for their future success. You have now moved from the theory of audit observation to the practical daily task of creating reports that drive real organizational change.